Good evening. How are you? Well, it's a very pleasant evening. The Thomas Jefferson says our temperature is 87 degrees and our humidity is 54 and the wind is 1.7 miles. Do you believe they actually measure it to that? But hey, if Thomas Jefferson says it's so, it's so. I managed to get another swim in today, and when I was drying off, I ended up talking to a gentleman who works for Veteran Affairs. He was talking about how difficult it is taking care of the problems of veterans. And I tried to ask as politely, because I didn't know the man, about do they have sufficient staffing. And I wish I'd known then what I read afterwards, which is that a large number are going to be cut from Veterans Affairs. On the one hand, we talk so wonderfully about our armed services and the sacrifices they make, and then on the other hand, we would cut the funds to take care of them the way we suggest that we are. But none of this is new to us. Every day, the reason we're upset is it's a lie, and it's a lie about something that we have accepted maybe for most of our lifetimes, and probably in an ever-perfecting way since the Declaration of Independence and the various documents that further informed our view of who we were and what we were doing. And so now, when we have this tragedy, this orange oafing bull in a china shop cutting through everything like an evil gang leader from hell, we are disturbed, as we should be, because good people should be disturbed about this. Things as simple as AG Pam Bondi, she has right in front of her all the stuff about Epstein. Well, the release of that information is not so fast. And you wonder, what does Musk know that perhaps has delayed the distribution of that information involving perhaps Trump? A good example of what's bad about the administration of our government, and this is kind of ironic in a way. We have troops in the ice brown shirts descending on MacArthur Park. Those of you remember the long, 12 or 15 minute song. And looking for the cake left out in the rain. I won't challenge you to listen to me sing. And apparently what they were looking for wasn't cake, but they were looking for folk to arrest. And they couldn't find any migrants, but they were chasing them on foot, on horseback, and military vehicles. Such a recipe for the correct apprehension of a government gone wrong, that in a democracy, this is how we enforce the law. We go out there in a dragnet and pick people up because they look Hispanic, but they couldn't find anybody, apparently. And so it happens at MacArthur Park. These people do these things in a way that if I were to submit a transcript of my great American novel and I put this example in it, an editor would probably say, no, it doesn't work. It's not plausible. It couldn't happen. When talking about couldn't happen, let's talk about Camp Mystic. In 2017, along the Guadalupe River and in that area, they were talking about installing sirens and river gauges and more, but they didn't do it. It cost too much. So they didn't care to know what was going on. They didn't care to pay the cost. And they didn't care to clean anybody out of a flood zone that the president referred to as once in 100 years. Well, actually, every 10 years they've had an event, and they've been getting worse because the waters of the world are being retained. This great amount of moisture in the air above us, and sometimes it's not moving and it just stays there and it drops all at once. So Kerr County, Texas has some data, and really what you have is a study in bad government. You start with the fact that the area is known as Flash Flood Alley, where 27 have been killed in recent days, associated with the camp for girls for the summer. 750 children were at the camp when the flooding struck. So apparently, I don't know what the injuries are, but apparently many survived, but then there are those who didn't. And the Guadalupe River in Carroll County, it went up to 26 feet in height in an hour. Can you imagine? Slow-moving thunderstorms hurt badly the people, the grounds, causing chaos, causing death and destruction. Tropical moisture from the Gulf. And, you know, the severe circumstances were clear. There were meteorological signals, but nobody on the ground on or near the Guadalupe River knew about this. So the water values told the story, but nobody was reading it, not where it mattered. No one read the reports or acted upon them. And, you know, they may say, oh, it's a hoax and stuff like that, but it's a worldwide increase in the amount of warmth in the air, holding the water in the air. Some call it climate change. I call it global warming because that's more specific. And I've always thought climate change was a way for those who want us to pretend that it doesn't exist to say, oh, it changes in some way. Global warming is calling it what it really is, and that's what I think we should be doing. And it guarantees heavy rainfall, or heavier rainfall, I should say. And in the last 10 years, it's increased dramatically. I think it's 23%. So we have more, it's worse. And what do? It's the equivalent of the government saying, hold my beer, you know, while worse things happen because we're holding your beer, and what you're doing is just lying to the people. Oh, we don't need that stuff. We can save the money. Don't worry about global warming. It's a hoax. Those kids who are dead, well, you know, let's pray for them. That's it. That is the whole thing, the whole story. I think what we have to do is we have to deny any building in Flood Alley. It's just no question about it. Why it continues. There should be no insurance in Flood Valley. We should introduce science to redress global warming, at least to measure it, but to do more and to shun fossil fuels, which seems like a futile effort to deal with fossil fuels, given that we have more than 2 billion barrels a year of oil coming out of Texas. It's terrible. In the days ahead, we should ask these kinds of questions in all the junctures where this administration will fail because they care not to study, and they don't care if they fail because to them, chaos is the answer. Of course, the irony of their policy is that first up in the category of suffering is Texas. Texas, home to the wackos in Waco and elsewhere. Texas, home to fossil fuels, causing global warming, the whole planet because of these guys. And there are others, don't get me wrong. But we think you can do this and nothing will happen. I saw my dad smoke from the time he was a kid. He died of lung cancer. We have people who all of a sudden their homes along the shore are now underwater. We have these people in Texas now who for years, I'm sure it's beautiful when it's not flooded, but the floods get worse and people are dying and no one's doing anything about it to narrow the risk. And so this passes for government. This is unacceptable. This is instead neglect, indifference, which I suppose is a variation of neglect, right? We don't care what happens to our kids. We don't care what happens to them. You know, and we have big names in terms of Texas and in politics who go to this place and think it's so terrific, and not one of them has said, we have to change the way we do things here because we're putting people at risk because we don't have a handle on these floods. But they run around denying the truth all the time. I mentioned, I believe, that Representative Green goes around saying, oh, you know, we got to stop seeding the clouds, like that's the explanation for the rain. The rain is a factor of global warming, which since I was a kid in college has been evident, and no one does enough. And the question is, have we passed the pivot point when we can do nothing to stop it? And what we see in Texas is going to become where we don't have floods of water, we have thousands of acres on fire. Elsewhere we have no plant life. Who knows? You know, the thing is, it's not like there are road signs of how this disaster can go, because we, men and women, have created this, and we want to point to others to explain it, but it's us, and Texas leads the fight. So tell me, Mr. Trump, $25 billion, drill baby drill, is that what we got for? Danger to the people who live in the state that drills and drills and drills, but doesn't care about the babies. So that's what's on my mind today, and so I say goodbye to you from my cathedral of trees. All the best. Bye-bye.